Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Akash Weekly Twitter Spaces. I'm Nadia Bajuelo, Community Events Manager here at Overclock Labs. I hope all of you listening now or watching later are having a great morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are today. As always, thank you to you guys, the amazing Akash community, for your support and everything you do for this community. Let's get started with today's spaces. First, Greg will kick us off with updates and news. After updates, we'll give you guys a full introduction to our guests today, Lex Avellino, CMO at Passage, and Arel Avellino, COO at Passage. During our guest segment, we'll be talking to Arel and Lex about all things Passage, Strangeclan, and metaverse events. We'll move on to a short discussion where we'll hear more from Lex and Errol, including their thoughts on the challenges currently facing teams building games and metaverses in Web3. Finally, we'll wrap up with an AMA with Greg and our guests. As mentioned, we'll give a proper introduction and welcome to Lex and Errol just after updates, but for right now, let's hand it off to the man of the hour and CEO of Overclock Labs, Greg Osuri. Take it away, Greg.
Thanks so much, Nadia. So good to be back. Man, what a week has it been? Quite a lot of updates from Akash, but overall, these are some of those weeks we look back and be like, "Holy shit, we survived!" Well, big ticket item. Mainnet 4 is here. We have a proposal out, and with the details on how to upgrade for validators, and it looks like it's going to pass in flying colors. The When it passes, we'll have the mainnet out in 7 days. Exactly so if you remember the proposal voting period has been reduced to a week instead of the original 2 weeks. So we should have mainnet 4 by November 17th, 10:35 GMT. Super 10:35 PST. So super excited. Mainnet 4 again, the big feature that's coming out is IP Marketplace. You'll be able to have unique IP addresses. This has been a feature that's been requested for a long time. It's one step, for us to get to parity with the cloud. It's a very important step. So with IP address marketplace, we'll be able to support quite a lot of new applications. Solana nodes being the number one requested support. So we should, Anatoly showed his excitement on how they're planning to use Akash as their primary infrastructure for nodes. So this is really good news, right? So this comes at a time when Hetzner, again, banned crypto. This time, actually, they went and purged about of all the Solana nodes. They took down about 20% of the network. Obviously, that wasn't taken very nicely by the Solana ecosystem that prompted Anatoly to talk about the importance of Akash in his Twitter. That definitely gave us quite a lot of very good introduction to the Solana ecosystem, and we started getting a lot of requests on how to run these nodes. So in 7 days, you should be able to run run them on Akash. So I'm super excited. Along with that, we also saw Mask AI, which is a privacy protocol, talk about how they'll be able to leverage, IP addresses and running on Akash. So IP addresses are going to be another amazing game changer for Akash. So one step for us to get to the GPUs, which is even more exciting, right? So as we keep adding new features, as we keep upgrading the mainnet, we are attracting quite a lot of new use cases. So this is really good to see. Um, and Alani has been super busy. If you haven't checked out our YouTube, go check it out. I mean, his state of Akash ecosystem is on point, and he's pumping videos. He talked about the Alter video. Alter, if you don't remember, it's the platform that leverages secret network as well as Akash to do private communication. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on privacy these days. So we have Alter, we have Mask, which is amazing because we can combine protocols like Secret and Akash and achieve even more privacy, right? So I think Akash is very powerful. Right? It's got really incredible privacy primitives, but when combined with other protocols, it enhances to a point that it's not easy to ignore. So I love these mask and alter use cases coming onto Akash. So do check it out. And Alani also gave a short update on Vixelo, the team that's bringing Fiat on ramp to Akash. So that's super cool. Um, and um, there's another Web3 masterclass in Delhi. Alani will be speaking there. It's on November 12th. It's hosted by our friends at Spheron. So Spheron and Akash are hosting this masterclass. If you're around, go check it out. The registration link is on our Twitter weekly update Twitter thread. Also check out our amazing head of product, Anil's blog post on the Akash ecosystem, how it's growing. Anil is an amazing writer. I mean, his blogs have been extremely informative in understanding how we're growing as an ecosystem. So check it out. And I'm super excited to welcome back our friends from Passage today to talk about GPUs. I mean, and metaverse in general, how Akash is supporting Passage and how it'll continue to evolve as Passage gets more adoption. So super excited to welcome Lex and Arul.
Yo.
All right. So, guys, our first guest today is Lex Avellino, CMO at Passage. Lex is a world builder, founder, and CMO of Passage. He's been creating digital worlds through virtual production for over a decade, having worked with brands such as American Girl, Amazon, and more. He started this team back in 2017, and outside of work, he is a husband and father of four. Welcome, Lex. So excited to have you. How are you today?
Doing good. You know, it's my pleasure to be here, Nadia. Greg and the Akash crew are the ones who got me into Cosmos to begin with. So just stoked to be hanging out.
Awesome. Guys, our second guest is Arel Avellino, COO at Passage. Arel is a storyteller, problem solver, and gamification nerd. Starting out as a filmmaker from Philly turned seven-figure serial entrepreneur, he quickly learned how to lead creative teams to find solutions to unique problems. Now he's defining the future of metaverse events with Passage. Welcome, Arel. Super excited to have you as well. How are you today?
I am great, and it is awesome to kind of be back with Akash. Every time we're at an event together, I'm always stoked to find where Akash is at the event. We've had such great synergy with you guys, and like Lex said, you guys brought us in, so we're super excited.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great seeing you guys at Consensus, Cosmoverse. You guys will be able to see Greg again at Decentral Miami coming up soon. Always great to run into you guys. So we've got some questions for you guys, and then we'll loop in Greg and GPUs and have a bit of a discussion about the space at large. But for right now, let's start with giving everyone an overview of Passage, but let's go step by step. So, first, take us way back to the beginning. You guys have a pretty cool origin story involving Marvel and Capitol Records. Can you guys please tell us about how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I started this team back in 2017. And for a long time, even before that, I've been working in virtual production. Everything from like a pirated version of Photoshop when I was like in high school to getting into Blender and 3D rendering after I had started off in kind of a graphic design illustration career. Did a ton of digital art and production work. And so when I started the studio in 2017, we really pushed to do a lot of like 3D animation, rendering, VFX work. And through that, we got connected with a lot of people who were building experiential events, which is basically just highly interactive experiences for some major productions like Marvel, Warner Brothers, Dallas Cowboys. We helped build out a lot of these experiences where people would be interacting with different physical build outs. We had everything from like different like interactive photo booths that would put you in a scene from the movie, and then you could go and like share it right away at an iPad. So like automated VFX stuff that we put together from the ground up. all the way to like, silly like sticker booths and things like that, where people could customize different products based off of the film and things like that. Lots of interactive stuff. So we have a history creating experiences, right? Is a big part of what we've been doing. And a lot of what we've done has touched both on the virtual side of production as well as the physical side of production. So with Passage, as we kind of grew into what this is becoming today, with the larger Passage platform, we really want to create something that connects a lot of experiences, both virtual and physical.
Awesome. That is so cool. And I love that you started with, you said, what, a bootleg copy of Photoshop? That's awesome.
Oh yeah, off of LimeWire, I'm sure.
Probably, yeah. Arel, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but if not, we'll move on to Passage today. Got anything, Arel, before we move on?
All I have to say is that I basically sat in the background on most of those awesome experiences, and it's pretty crazy to see how far things have developed.
Well, me and Arel have been collaborating for a long time, even before he kind of officially came on to the team. He officially became an employee, an executive at Passage last year, when things really started going crazy with our world build outs with the Passage platform and with the blockchain integration with the Cosmos Passage chain. With the launch of Strangeclan, all these things started to come to a head. And so Arel came on the team officially then, but before that, we'd already been collaborating on building out some worlds together. We worked with another one of his companies that was putting on an event. We've collaborated on building out these experiences. And even before that, like, Arel has been kind of my business confidant for a long time. I always say I'm the one with style, and he's the one with the hard work ethic. And so he has stolen my style, and I have stolen his strength at various points in our careers.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are like perfectly complementary. And Arel, yeah, before we move on to Passage today, that's right. Alex brings up a good point. You are kind of the more like entrepreneurial background person in your duo. Let's say if we call you guys a duo as brothers, but do you want to touch on that 7-figure business that you had? I think it had something to do with books, right?
Yeah. So
I like books. I couldn't help but notice.
Oh, dude. Yeah. So it was an e-commerce business that was focused on serving like the reader community. And honestly, that was a big part of what helped kind of put together a lot of the things that Lex was particularly seeing when he was focused on like creating these 3D immersive experiences. So him and I, when we're talking about like what I was seeing going to conventions, trying to serve on an e-commerce level. I'm trying to be in the physical world while also mostly doing all my sales virtually. And so I saw a lot of issues with how things were at the present time, which totally fed into, where we started to discuss Passage going, what Passage was going to be focused on. And we'll probably get into a lot of that stuff today.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on to what Passage looks like today. One thing that really stands out is that you guys have said before that you have a focus on human connection. In fact, we found out last week with some of our insiders that even they have met each other through the Strangeclan community, actually. Can you guys tell us what Passage does today and what drives you guys to do what you do, and how Strangeclan fits into that, I guess, too?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, basically what we're doing today is Passage is a connection platform. It's kind of as simple as that. We're building a lot of tools for people to connect experiences together, have overlapping assets, overlapping relationships, so that, instead of having like my followers on Instagram, my friends on Facebook, and my business connections on LinkedIn, it's all one asset that goes with the users, and the relationships are separate from the platform. Passage is building tooling for all of that, for connecting people across different experiences and allowing builders to connect their experiences together. We were also making tooling like the streaming applications, which are very relevant to our collaboration with Akash, that make these experiences more accessible. So that's about connecting people more quickly and more fluidly into new virtual experiences, right? But it all revolves around connections. That's what we're doing today, is connecting people better into experiences, connecting the experiences, all of the above. And in terms of how Strangeclan fits into that, Strangeclan was kind of the inciting incident. It was the kind of the narrative experience that helped a lot of people understand Passage. Because when you take part in a game, it's like its own virtual world. It's got its own story, it's got its own assets, and you create your character, your identity through that. But the problem is with most games, it stops there, right? With Passage, what we wanted to show and illustrate was how the story can go with you across other virtual experiences, how your characters could go with you, how your assets could go with you, your reputation, right? And that it should be fluid across these virtual boundaries that exist right now. So Passage was basically our intro, our case study for how this applies to games. Yeah, I mean, arguably, I think the most successful NFT collection in the Cosmos proper ecosystem, with over 7 million in sales. You know, we at mint $2 million in 2 hours, even in the bear market, our second sale did over 700,000 for the mint. So very, very successful. And all of this has everything to do with the community that's kind of like gotten excited about this broader vision of a game that truly gives them ownership over their experience.
Wow. Knew about the 2 million, did not know that was raised in 2 hours. Amazing. Wow.
Yep. Across 2 different auctions, but it was like an hour each, like 2 days apart. So.
Wow. All right. So can you
one
guys?
thing
Oh yeah, go for it.
one thing I'd add on to that, and I won't always have to like say something after Lex says something, but
No.
particularly for introing Passage. So Lex will give like the very like, hey, this is like conceptually what we're doing. One of the things I like to do for people is kind of like bring it back to things you already know, because what we're doing is very much in trend and in evolution with things you already know. So what I like to root people back to is we're essentially building the Shopify for virtual worlds, and virtual worlds have not had an application that people have really been able to apply it to outside of games. But what we're seeing with the rise of social gaming, with mobile gaming, and also the deep empty space, that when we were going through 2020, we recognized there was a massive empty space in how people could communicate and connect online. Zoom wasn't doing it. The way that people are trying to do virtual events was not doing it. There needed to be a better way, but gaming was thriving. It did very, very well. The communities in gaming did extremely well, and arguably, that's where some of the healthiest community was kind of being developed at the time. So I like to say that we're the Shopify of virtual experiences, and giving people the tools to essentially build out virtual worlds for communities, for events, for games, and for office spaces. So we're seeing all those use cases like come into picture as we do our build out, like our rollout of our first 10 worlds. We're really going to see a lot of those use cases come together, and people are going to be able to experience this, which we're really, really excited about.
Oh, amazing. No, it does sound exciting. And hey, Arel, no worries. You jump in as much as you want. Usually with multiple guests, I'll preface the question with the name of the person I'm kind of directing it to, but I'm guilty of assuming that you and Lex have been working together, so long, and because you're brothers, that you kind of know who'll jump in on what. And totally, we get like the business side of whatever Lex just said. So super cool so far.
Oh, yeah.
No worries.
And we'll definitely talk over each other a little bit. We've got a good flow.
Very Italian. Very Italian.
So can you guys walk us through your roadmap and tell us where you are on your roadmap today? There's a lot of excitement around it. I've seen your community commenting on the roadmap. Go for it.
Lex, why don't you go ahead and take this one?
Yeah,
go for it.
No, this is great. I'm going to pull up, as everybody should, the passage.io website and reference this for our updated roadmap. And I can run through this quick in terms of like what's happening right now. We've been building a launcher that connects all the different experiences, right? So this is a dashboard experience where you can see everything your friends are doing, all the different passage experiences in one place, and quickly connect to stream different experiences, right? The goal is that people hit the passage website, the passage launcher, and they see something cool and hit play and they're in immediately. That's the benefit of streaming, doing the cloud streaming for these experiences. Again, that's a key opportunity for integrating Akash. That's what we're building with a launcher. Easy access. You're able to see the cross-world perspective. Like, what are my friends doing across these different experiences? We have communication tools that exist across experiences. That's the launcher we'll be revealing this quarter. Relationship protocol should be code complete. That means being able to have relationships that are independent of any particular world or platform. Your relationships belong to you. And again, you'll see this illustrated in the launcher because you'll see I have friends who are just my friends, or connections or followers who are just my followers. They're not my Twitter followers. They're not my Instagram followers. They're actually my followers. So also, Marketplace is evolving with offers and auctions, and as well as NFT staking. So these things are being audited right now by a prestigious group, and we'll have those code complete. I guess staking will be code complete, and the marketplace offers and auctions should be audited this quarter. Next quarter is a huge focus on announcing a lot of the first 10 worlds and showing people kind of where this is going. There's a lot of utility that's going to be added to the Passage token. That's when we're doing the Passage token public sale and cross-chain NFT support, and then opening up the launcher for closed alpha. So that's where we're going to be starting to connect people into our first 10 worlds. And when you guys see some of the people we're partnering with on these first 10 worlds, it's a little bit crazy. We're bringing a lot of people in from outside Cosmos. That's been what this, we're in the middle of a strategic sale around the token. That's what this has been about. It's been building relationships and bringing new partners into the Passage ecosystem. So Q1 is all about showcasing those first 10 worlds and getting people into those experiences, starting to use the Passage launcher to quickly get in and out of these experiences. Q2 is focused on scaling, on-demand scaling for the streaming infrastructure, which is going to improve our costs. A closed beta for the launcher, getting more people into those worlds, and then opening up applications for other world partners. So moving beyond the first 10. Q2 is all about scaling from those first 10 partners and the activations that we're doing with those. We're going to be scaling with things like Passage office spaces for collaboration tools, as well as later in the quarter opening up the launcher for an open beta where anybody can start to get involved. Then Q3 is basically expanding on that. We're going to start working on more of the user flows for soul-bound NFTs, so different badges, memberships, and then the world builder. So this is the stage where people next year will actually be able to start building their own Passage worlds as a community, right? So that's where we're going to be launching tools where anybody can drag and drop these 3D experiences together and launch a Passage world somewhat effortlessly.
Wow, awesome. So you guys have an incredibly exciting event featuring the likes of RZA and the martial arts team whose work we just recently saw in Everything Everywhere All at Once, among others, coming up in February. Nostalgia will be hosted in Passage in Blockhouse. Can you please tell us more about Nostalgia and Blockhouse?
Yeah, so this one's really exciting. I'll tell you actually, one of the big developments that's happened recently is the opportunity to make this not a one-time experience in February, but potentially a year-long event where basically our hope is that we've had a lot of demand in terms of the artists wanting to participate in this. And in some ways, the scope of it has really increased to the point where we really want to do justice to the art and to the content that's being created here. we've talked about some of the things that we want to feature in this experience where so Marshall Club is the world's foremost Hollywood stunt team right now. And they've worked with guys like Jackie Chan, with Michelle Yeoh and Everything Ever All at Once. Michelle Yeoh is from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's a martial arts legend in
she's
the
awesome.
film and narrative space. Oh yeah, just an incredible woman. And they're absolutely incredible. What we want to do is be able to bring their talent up close and personal to people who actually can't be there in LA. They have a huge audience of people who watch their performances on YouTube, but we want to bring people closer through both green screen performances on stage in Passage, as well as through motion capture. In addition to that, we have talent like RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, Corey Guns, who's worked with both Lil Wayne and Young Money, and legendary lyricists like Mickey Fax, who runs Pendulum Inc. Rap School, where he's worked with some of the best lyricists in all of hip hop. And so these are some really, really cool identities in the rap space, including some underground up and comers like Osmond Benjamin. And we've been having some really great conversations and interviews with these guys, and kind of like how their art is evolving, how their content is evolving. And we really want Passage to be a place where they can get closer to their audience. They can control their content and have a platform that is open and really is whatever they want it to be. They get to decide how they interact with their community. They can own their following. And also they get some access to some really unique monetization mechanisms that allow them to create more and better content. So that's what we're trying to bring to these artists. And so it is a concept that's been evolving. We have not opened up tickets. We'll have more information on some next steps. We've got some interviews coming out with the artists to help people understand like where this is going. But for us, this is really a big picture play on like the next generation of content creators. So Arel, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the things that is big to us is that everybody who Lex just mentioned is they're not crypto native people. These are people who genuinely want to show up for a product. And I think that one of the things that is actually also extremely exciting about Akash is that we're trying to build a product, and that's one of the things that attracted us to Akash and really showed us like, hey, there's something being developed here that is actually commercial, versus what you do see a lot of is people who are just simply building infrastructure that doesn't necessarily like turn into a meaningful product. Sometimes things get put on the blockchain that aren't necessarily like converted into the blockchain meaningfully. But this is genuinely a product that people want to show up for, and that's what honestly gets our team really excited about it. We're really trying to make this something that when people come to this event, they're coming because they're excited about the event, not just because it's not just because it's crypto, or not just because there's additional hype. It's all about, hey, is this something that people genuinely want?
Which is super important for adoption, and then for what you're doing with this is potentially game changing for creators and creatives. So that's awesome. Speaking of Akash, how did you guys first hear about Akash?
Oh goodness. So this was back in let's see, December of 2020 was when I started discovering Akash specifically. And for me, it was through Elio Trades, I think. Akash was my gateway into the Cosmos ecosystem. Basically, I loved what I saw in Akash, and I saw huge potential because, again, we've been building in virtual production. We've been building virtual applications at this point for a while. And I saw how much we were leveraging cloud infrastructure. And I'd always had this kind of like subtle guilt. Once I understood decentralized technology and Web3, I'm like, dude, I don't love the fact that I am reliant on the Amazon overlords for permission to exist on the internet. And so for me, seeing Akash, I just was like, it felt like a wave of relief that there is a solution where we can kind of take back our independence on the web, and that there is an opportunity for true freedom here. So that was my intro to Akash, and that was my intro into Cosmos. And once I started digging in, I started following Greg on the Twitters, and basically like just desperately looking for any opportunity to interact, and just kind of slowly weaseled my way into his field of view. And
he actually did, because and he gave me the play-by-play as he worked his way into.
Arel gives
Yeah.
me play-by-play every time I got like, oh, like Greg just retweeted this thing that you know what I
Yep.
mean, like, or like, yeah, I mean, it was borderline obsessive.
Greg, I
It's
don't know how uncomfortable this makes you, getting the inside scoop.
Well, I noticed Lex was, it's the beautiful thing about this ecosystem is like it doesn't matter what part of the world you are, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a contributor, you get noticed, right? And that's
Amen.
amazing, right? So it's not easy, it's not hard to see notice Lex and give him the support, little support wherever I can, right? So and amazing people always find their way.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Well,
And that's,
something.
oh,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Lex. No, go ahead.
Well, yeah, basically, like that's what it felt like. It was just like it felt. The reason I love the Cosmos space is as we started to get into the conversation, like again, we didn't have a reputation in this space. We were builders already in our own right, which was one benefit. We weren't coming into this entirely speculatively, right? We had a background building with some major brands. But it was just so good because it felt really easy to slide into the conversation in Cosmos because the builders here were so authentic and everyone here paid homage to building, right? To making something quality and not to, shoot, like who had the most followers or whatnot. Like it was very authentic and everybody here was about building something better. So once I got that taste of the Cosmos builder community and even the retail community here, it was just there was no other place I wanted to be.
1,000%. Yeah, and one thing I was going to add to that is when Lex started talking to me about Akash, because I found out through Lex, I didn't even, it was not on my radar at all. And then Lex, was telling me about it, and the first thing I thought about is, man, this is like what Uber did to the New York taxi service. Like, to
Oh
me,
yeah.
to like to see a product like cloud compute be turned into a marketplace, very much in the vein of like what Uber did. To me, it was phenomenal because now all of a sudden you have way more competition that then allows for like much better marketplace opportunities. Right now, like everybody who uses AWS, like they can tell you get gouged, and it's a really sucky experience. They don't have
Oh
any
yeah.
reason to optimize it because they're really the giant in the room. So the more that we can have stuff like this, the more every other experience also becomes optimized.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. You guys have touched on this already, but how do you currently use Akash? What are your plans for the future? And what's your experience been so far?
Yeah, I wish we had Mike on here for this,
Yeah.
because Mike
Chief
could
tech
Mike
dude.
yeah, Mike's our CTO. But basically, we run a lot of our websites through Akash. And where we want to go, which is honestly the most exciting part, is Akash GPU. We want to give
Yes.
every world builder who builds on our platform the ability to launch their world using Akash GPU for their
Yes.
cloud compute
Yes.
streaming, so
Or,
that anybody can have easy access to a world that can't be shut down, that becomes unstoppable. Go ahead,
amen.
Lex.
Yeah, 100%. And the our passion here is that people have a choice, right? That we have a modular system where people can tap into the broad Akash compute marketplace. Um, whether it's for a number of services on Passage, whether that's running the cloud streaming for their world, or for other components of Passage, right? Because the streaming is just one element. There are other elements where we can integrate cloud compute. Um, I mean, shoot, I was just talking. I was on a partner call, a sale participant call, and we were talking about the opportunity for when you hit that build button to create a Passage world, when we launched, kind of like the world builder tools in Q3, the opportunity is there for people to also launch a Cosmos SDK token, right? What if you could launch a node for your token on Akash, right? We also are looking into being able to leverage, block space from some Saga or shared security solutions of some kind for people to launch tokens if they need that for their world, if they want to have social tokens or community access tokens, things like that. But there's so many areas where, again, we can give people the opportunity to leverage Akash and get huge discounts across both, CPU compute and GPU compute. Obviously, one of the most exciting solutions is being able to do the cloud streaming with Akash GPUs. And for us, this is part of our thesis in going into the space and really pushing the streaming vision, because we're looking for the broadest possible adoption. We have seen with, and I'm telling you, some of these huge brand partners that we're working with now in the first 10 worlds, they are very excited about streaming, right? It would be easy to drop that because it is a high-end solution. It can be expensive, but we see where the market's going already. Since we started, we were in a call yesterday with a cloud compute provider for GPUs, and we've already seen something like an 80%, potentially 80% reduction in costs since we started for what's available now for GPUs, right? Now,
which is not even taking into account like the optimizations that we have planned on our roadmap, will only further, save more money for world builders, making cloud streaming so accessible for anybody building out a world.
And as these things start to compound, as we, for one, as we get the big boys competing with each other and really starting to scale their solutions. And then as we decentralize these solutions, it's going to compound drastically to the point where I believe streaming solutions via GPU are going to be just as accessible as, hosting a WordPress website. I mean, I really think we're going to get to that point. And that's why for us, we were pursuing streaming solutions, even when to a lot of people it seemed prohibitive, right? So for us, we believe that the technology is going to scale naturally, and we've just got to create the most ideal and premium experience. So cloud compute has been a major component of that, and obviously the Akash roadmap fits hand in hand with what our vision is for that.
And I don't know if you guys are keeping up to speed with generative AI, or have you looked at it? But I'm like super stoked. I mean, especially
well, for one, your beautiful PFP right now.
Thank you.
But all of your experiments with which AI was it that you were working with lately?
Stable diffusion.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I think I'm super excited for world builders because now you have a lot more tools to realize your creativity, right? I think
right.
I can see yeah.
I was just gonna say that I have a buddy right now who, like, this is all he's doing right now is creating generative art through AI, and like he uses like his poetry, and he actually comes from like a programming background, but he uses poetry as like his base, and then what he's found is the as he's done like different like many different iterations of his art, he's been able to get more and more specific with his words, so he almost feels like he's programming for images, which is like a really, really cool revelation of the future. And it totally reminds me of like how, because my background was also in video production. I did video production for a long time, was a filmmaker. I watched the filmmaking world get democratized now to the point where I have a sister-in-law who makes 50K on a video that she did on TikTok. That's how easy it is for one person to take the job that I had like years ago, and just now one person can have that job, and it's super accessible for them to be able to do it. I'm seeing that next layer come in for the gaming world and this whole revelation of like virtual worlds.
Yeah, 100%. So I think like video production is going to get a lot more accessible. And
Mm,
if you think about it, the complexity and the needs for compute is doubling every 4 months, especially with generative AI. So I'm like, and there's just not enough GPUs to support that growing need.
Yep. Yep.
Only way to get these GPUs is to go inward, like, look at where the GPUs are deployed and try to get access to them. Because again, people that have deployed and purchased GPUs are not willing to sell, right? Because they
yeah,
themselves want them, right?
yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
premium product. It's a premium product now.
Okay.
People won't let go of what they have.
Yeah.
Yep.
Only way to like get access is like when they're not using GPUs, like you're not training them 24 hours, or you're not using them 24 hours. Get access to them, and and the companies that have them could earn Akash credits and use them to scale and whatnot. So I'm super excited. I think I can even see like a world where I mean, so not to get too deep into it, but there's this chip called A100s or NVIDIA A100s, right? These are
Right, right.
the best GPUs for training as well as inference, right? They're like mountains, ahead in terms of how fast they can do to the next competitor. And there's so much demand for these chips that I can see a DAO funding these like chips and building data centers and amortizing them within like 6 to 8 months and profiting off, right? So I can totally see if you think like GPUs and AI, which I totally believe is the future of humanity. I mean, I think it's going to come by storm. Like it's not only generative art; it's like every field AI is involved. I code now
Right.
mostly with GitHub Copilot, right? So in my life, I use AI so much that it's only increasing my usage of AI. So when you have such an important like element of our humanity, we can't let few companies control the supply, right? So I think that's where democratization becomes a lot more obvious, and also the GPU workloads are like ephemeral in a way and doesn't require heavy privacy needs or because a lot of them are just like crunching numbers, right, in and out. So I can see an amazing. I mean, I'm so hyper bullish with GPUs on Akash, like, and considering the fact that this is only going to get bigger and bigger. So yeah, excited.
No, I
100%.
I totally agree with that. And I think for me, one of the huge fascinations with GPU or like the AI generative art, I absolutely believe that in terms of AI art, there is you get out what you put in, right?
Right.
Like people can generate a lot of derivative art, and there is unique stuff that's generated, but the algorithm knows what you put into it. And so I think ultimately the people who are going to get the best results out of AI are artists in a lot of ways, or
Mm-hmm.
people who are thoughtful about what there's an art to how you teach and program an AI and how you use it, right, to make something that is truly unique. And so one of the things that's super interesting for me, looking into content like Arcane. So Arcane was, Riot's, big animation series. And the production on that is just absolutely beautiful. As a storyteller and somebody who's been in the 3D animation world for a long time now, um, I mean, it's prohibitive to do that type of. I mean, they probably didn't need to spend this, but they probably spent upwards of 10 million an episode, right?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Creating that, it's bonkers, and they've got 10 episodes. Probably spent close to 100 million on production. Um, and they obviously have a huge brand, they have a huge platform. They have the opportunity to really get the most out of that, and just sink that money into it without making a dime for like 6 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think about how AI could help smaller animation teams or independent artists make more content, right? So,
Yeah.
like, even being able to take simpler animations, right? So, like, if you're going for a hand drawn feel, it's so expensive to get quality hand drawn animation. There's so few people who still do, quality hand drawn style, like Ghibli, right? Um, but if you could take 3D animations and program an AI to turn that into a different style, right? To better imitate the hand drawn style, there's a huge opportunity there for small teams to be able to get more out of their work, right? That's what's
Mm-hmm.
exciting to me is it kind of levels the playing field, right? Like there is a sense in which like, oh man, like does this hurt independent artists? I mean, not the savvy ones. The people who take advantage of this and use it themselves will level up their own abilities and opportunities to be able to create more content, to create the kind of content that they want to. So yeah, I think this is a huge, huge opportunity for scaling the efforts of small artists. And when it comes to Passage world building, we've always envisioned this open marketplace of 3D assets where people can drag and drop. They could theoretically take Strangeclan environment designs and pull them into a new world. Well, what if you could basically press a button to make that world unique, right? To generate new styles for the same assets, right? So that it's not just derivative, it actually, you can give your own unique flair to that world by regenerating all the textures or things like that, right? So I think there's a huge opportunity here for people to do more, right? This can be used, I think, in a really powerful way.
That's amazing. There's always that pull between, is this going to hurt artists or is it going to move things forward? But I think we keep seeing that the democratization of these of these tools and these capabilities is always better. So recently in a Forbes article, Lex, you mentioned another festival using Passage for the virtual component of their event. Are you able to tell us more about that festival, or is there anything that you could give us a sneak peek into, or what we should keep an eye out for coming up for Passage in the future before we jump into our AMA here?
No, 100%. I would highly recommend everyone to follow Decentralize, which is Decentralize.io on Twitter. So it's DC, so the letter D and then Centralize.io on Twitter. And they've been connecting with everybody. They've been super active at events and just connecting with a lot of the right people in the Web3 space. They're huge proponents. They were originally coming, so they were formerly known as LunaFest, coming from the Terra Luna ecosystem. And this is a team, they're incredible. Ian and the team over at Decentralize are just really phenomenal guys who come out of the event production space. They've got a huge reputation in their history doing sports events, and they're trying to bring this to the music EDM space for the first ever Web3 music festival in the UK. So we love what they're doing. They're really incredible guys. They're taking their time to build this right, and they're going to be using Passage to basically extend their physical event. This is going to be in if you go to their website, you can see the location they're going to be using, but it's beautiful out in the UK that they're doing this event physically, and then Passage is going to act as a virtual extension where you'll be able to experience the same stage performances through the Passage 3D world in order to interact with the artists, interact with other people who are attending both physically and virtually. It's going to be cool. It's a really exciting collaboration. But yeah, this is just kind of another point that as much as I love the gaming use case for Passage, there's some really, really powerful and I think underestimated use cases and verticals in events, in entertainment, and business use cases for Passage that are really going to kind of push the dial on what's possible.
Awesome. Greg, if you don't mind, I think we should go ahead and open up our AMA because we're running low on time.
Yes, I can keep talking to these guys forever. But
I know, right? Yeah.
Yep.
We didn't even get through all of our questions, but yeah, I want to make sure some people get their questions in. So in from Twitter, we've got a question here. How are plans evolving for credit card hop-on function for Akash and Passage?
Credit card functions. Is that a question for me? For Passage?
They didn't say. I suppose either side, I guess, could take this one.
Passage, you guys want to take it?
Yeah. So right now we're talking with several different technology partners. I mean, obviously, we're talking with Kato and Axelar about being able to do a fiat bridge, through their mechanisms, and we're exploring essentially all the various ways to improve that user experience, because the whole point is how do you more easily get fiat to get into Cosmos, right? And to get towards actually being able to do things. If you have to do like 5 different steps, it's not a great user experience. So we're trying to simplify that as much as possible. And right now, obviously USDC becoming native is going to be huge for that. So we're really excited about that. But yeah, right now we're looking at products like Axelar and Kato for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think I spoke about, yeah, sorry, Lex, you want to talk?
No, go for it, Greg. That was, I think, me.
I covered briefly before about our plans for fiat. So the precursor for fiat is, stable payments in Akash. We are active development for enabling stable payments, and we're looking at USD. Sorry, my bad. Not USD, USDC, native USDC whenever that happens on Cosmos. But really, the question is like, how do you, I mean, we got to keep the payment mechanism, uh, you know, uh, we got to ensure that payment mechanism is not going to threaten the security of Akash ecosystem, which relies on AKT, right? So, whatever stable mechanism we propose, it'll always increase or accrue value in AKT somehow. So the current proposal, which looks like it's the most accepted one, is the fact that, hey, we can do stable settlement in the sense you can pretty much take any stable coin, be it IST, which is Agoric, or be it USDC or even USDT when that comes to Cosmos, and charge a tax on it for using on Akash, right? The tax, the percentage of tax will be set by the governance, right? So I mean, initially we're going to start off with high tax, about 20%. But if community feels like that's too high, they can vote and change it. But the idea is, well, the tax money will be used to market by AKT and burn. So that way, if you're not using AKT, well, first of all, if you're using AKT, nothing's going to change. Like exactly like you would deploy a workload today. There's no tax. I mean, you pay transaction fees and whatnot. But if you're using non-AKT like USDC, you pay a tax, and the tax will be used to buy AKT and burn. So this way, AKT is accruing value regardless of what stablecoin is being used. At the same time, and value accrual for AKT is very important for stability and security of the Akash ecosystem, considering Akash is a proof of stake blockchain, right? It's very important that AKT, value accrues, right? So in that regard, I think a burn mechanism is a good mechanism, right? So it's simple, it's clean, it's easy to use, it's friendlier, and as these GPUs start like coming on Akash, so some of these workloads, like for example, like you have a training a stable diffusion cost was $600,000 to do just one workload. So imagine a workload like that coming in Akash, and you can see how much AKT will be burned using USDC that way, right? So I hope that answers the question. So again, once we enable USDC, we also have the auth Z mechanism which lets us actually accept credit card payments. I mean, lets any centralized entity, any hosted entity, essentially, to process credit card payments without while complying to money services laws, right? So that feature is already there. So we're waiting for USDC to enable, and then we should be able to use fiat payments.
Cool. Lex, anything to add? We have 2 more questions. All right.
No, I'm good. That was on point.
Awesome. All right. We've got this one is for Greg, and then we have one for you guys, Alex and Arel. So for Greg, hey Akash family, where do you see ourselves in the bear market and coming year ahead?
Ourselves in what? I'm sorry.
I think they're saying ourselves because they said family, but where do you see Akash in the bear market and the coming year ahead?
Yeah, so we are fortunate to be able to um, prepared for this bear market pretty well, right? So from a runway standpoint, Overclock Labs has been very risk averse when it comes to how we manage our funds and our runway. So we've been hyper focused on ensuring we have a long runway because this is not our first winter. This is our end whatever, right? So we learn from our past and we use those learnings to ensure that we have continuity, right? So Overclock Labs has enough runway to last through the winter to support Akash Network. On top of that, we have an extremely well laid out roadmap. I recently shared the master plan. I mean, briefly in some tweets here and there. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Probably I'll share it again here. But we have a solid runway, so a solid plan to first get to parity, right? So right now, Akash is incredible. It offers decentralization. It is the world's only spot market, right? So as we get GPUs, it's going to be even more valuable because nothing like that ever exists, right? So the bear market, we keep building these capabilities and we keep getting adoption like we're getting right? So, well, when the bull market comes, I mean, the tokens that have been building and getting adoption, and working with several big Fortune 50s as well. I mean, you're seeing quite a lot of news today with Meta integrations and all that. I mean, I can't obviously talk about these before they're complete and before they can make news. But what I can tell you is we don't pre-share news. We don't talk about things that are coming, especially when it comes to enterprise partnerships. That could be A, considered market manipulation. B, it's just not worth, talking about in this market, right? It's like, as long as we're building, you can be assured that there are large partnerships that we're working towards, and we're going to save these announcements for when the market returns, right? Here and there, you'll see some of us like talking about like Solana integrations or whatnot. Those are not the biggest ones we're working on. Those are still relatively way small compared to the actual enterprise partnerships that are happening, right? What I can tell you is Akash has graduated quite a lot. I mean, Akash is being taken seriously by a lot of the big players. And I mean, everybody, large enterprises, as we walk into meetings with these people, they know very well about Akash. Usually they have tons of questions already prepared to ask me or ask our team. So it's really, I think, like the next phase of Akash adoption we're seeing. And if I were to attribute, I think the next bull run will be the enterprise adoption will be one of the big catalysts for the next bull run, right? So there are a few narratives happening. A big narrative is interoperability. Second narrative is like, well, what's interoperability? It means really we can build usable software that can be used by enterprises and uh, and actually have interoperability on the usable software. And that's really what Cosmos is delivering. I mean, I'm hanging out in different groups, like different communities. If you go to ETH community, people are talking about how Cosmos composability is a thing. Cosmos has somehow managed to uniquely develop its own culture, its own like narrative, and hasn't been ruined by external parties. So which is pure, which is
Oh, I
amazing.
totally agree.
So we're in a very, very good position, if you ask me, Akash, and the broader ecosystem, right? So Akash being the first Cosmos chain, and we are true to our ethos and our values. So we have that going on, and we have enterprise adoption going on. We have GPUs coming, and I think the next bull run, another narrative that's developing is generative art. Like you can create a whole NFT series using generative art right now, like right now, right? And that new world is going to need GPUs and it's going to need compute power. And that's where Akash is like busting. I mean, like we're moving ahead with such speed. It's incredible, right? So yes, to summarize all this, my big rant on like what Akash means for the next 12 to 18 months. We keep building, we keep shipping. Like mainnet 4 is next week. We shipped, and mainnet 5 is coming soon after with GPUs, and we're spearing ahead. Art is growing. Like the need for GPUs is like doubling every 4 months, and we are ready. About $19 billion worth of GPUs are sitting dormant because of ETH merge. That all needs to see the market. And Akash is ready to get into this. Don't confuse GPUs for GPU mining. This is general purpose GPUs. That means these GPUs are used for something useful, which is essentially AI, right? So we have that coming. and and we have a team of like 35 people core in Overclock Labs, all working to make sure that we can deliver our roadmap, right? So keep chugging, keep building, and keep getting adoption, and don't get distracted by all the things that are happening right now. And that's what looks like. That's what is for Akash in the next 12 months.
Awesome. Yeah, important not to get distracted. Arel, Lex, we know you guys have to run. We did have one more question for you guys.
Go for it.
All right,
Go for it.
great. So we've seen great work with the streaming of Unreal Engine 4 with Passage, and there were hints on social for Unreal Engine 5 support. Anything to add in regards to progress on that end?
Yes, we are actively building Unreal 5 experiences. So already in motion. It honestly has not been a big curve for us. It was relatively simple to make that switch over, and so pretty much everything that you see from here on out, should start to work in Unreal 5. And honestly, a lot of the partners that we're working with we're going to be focused on Unreal 5 as well.
Yeah, if you look at the Passage page today, we posted an update on the Cosmos community world that we're building on Passage. And those previews, that build out that's happening is all in Unreal Engine 5. So you want to see what's possible in terms of the visual quality. That's just the beginning right there.
Awesome. Arel, Lex, where can we go to learn more about Passage and follow everything that you guys are doing?
So you guys see the cute little eyes looking at us with the Passage logo. Go click on that, and you can see everything that's going on in Twitter. You can follow Lex at Lex Avellino on Twitter. Lex is always posting stuff. He's like way more diligent about it than I am. And then I'm always trying to post here and there. I tend to like to network with a lot of the builders. So if you're a builder, like come network with me. I want to hear what people are making. I want to hear what people are trying to put together. Mine is Arel Avellino on Twitter. I want to see what the opportunities are for a connection, because there's a lot here that I think we're trying to build that really is a connector for everything else that's currently being built right now in Cosmos. We're seeing a lot of cool synergies between our project and a lot of these other projects that are essentially looking for more and more use cases to the community side, and we're excited to be that use case.
Very cool. Greg, do you have anything you'd like to add before we close it out and let everyone go?
I think I've covered it all. Thank you.
Awesome. And do love your logo, guys. I do love the little eyes looking at you. All right. So thanks so much to Greg, Lex, and Arel for joining us on Spaces today. And a huge thank you to all of you guys for joining today or listening to this later on. Before we get together next time, guys, let's keep in touch between spaces. Go sign up right now for our newsletter at akashnetwork.substack.com. In the About page, Zach's got a link to the blog. On the blog, check out Head of Product Anil Murthy's latest blog, Building the Open Cloud Part 3. Head over to Telegram tomorrow, Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific. Kalia Network joins us for an AMA with a 300 AKT prize pool for the best questions. Mondays, look out for our new weekly reading competitions on Telegram. And Tuesdays, hop on over to Discord for quizzes at 8 a.m. Pacific with 200 AKT in rewards and 5 winners.